Here we see the capacity against each of the machine resources and within a 24-hour period. And here we see the works orders that we planned using the requirement screen and created a little earlier on. So this particular one is for the 8-inch frying pan lid. This is for the 12-inch frying pan lid, and so on. The 8-inch base, 12-inch base, 8-inch finished assembly, and 12-inch finished assembly. I'm now going to start planning my production, and I'll start with the 8-inch lid. I'm choosing the 8-inch rather than 12-inch because the 8-inch is related to a sales order rather than a sales plan, and therefore is a more urgent requirement. So if I click on the relevant works order, the application now tries to plan that production to achieve the best fit it can. So we have here a CNC laser process for the batch, followed by the hydraulic press and the assembly operation. I'll now look to plan the 8-inch base, and again the application is trying to find the best fit given the available resource. And here it's suggesting that the process can be started on the CNC laser today and completed on Saturday morning. The setup of the hydraulic press can start today, but the batch won't be processed until Sunday when capacity is next available. We have the option to look at, perhaps on this occasion, asking the operators to work on the laser so that we can complete that order today before we go into the weekend. But maybe we should look at starting the setup of the hydraulic press operation on Monday morning when everyone's fresh. You'll notice in moving out this hydraulic press operation we've created a conflict here with the assembly process because the application recognizes that this can't start until this has been completed, so we'll have to move that operation out as well. We can then carry on planning the other orders. So for example, the completion of the 8-inch pan, the 12-inch lid, the 12-inch base, and the 12-inch pan itself. To make life a little easier, we can either zoom in or indeed zoom out, and if we want simply to get rid of some of the white space, that's the non-capacity within each 24-hour, then we can click on the auto button and that'll be resolved for us. So you can imagine that a good deal of planning can be done using this facility, always of course looking out for potential conflicts. And once we're happy with the plan, then we can of course save that. The works orders that we created earlier have now been planned on our schedule and are flagged as such. And if we look at the same 8-inch stainless steel base that we examined earlier on, we can see that, as for the others, we can now print a job card for that particular item, which basically identifies what is to be made, what is required to make it, so effectively a store's requisition, and where and when it will actually be processed. If we now move away from the internal works orders to the external purchase orders that we've created, the application hasn't sent these orders to the supplier yet. It does require that we edit the order so that we can be quite sure that what we're ordering is exactly what we want, and where, for example, we've scheduled production to start at a particular date, then of course we need to make sure that the material is due for delivery on or just before that date. When we're happy with the order, then we update and send. And in the same way that we can attach our terms to the sales order acknowledgement to the customer, we include our terms with the purchase order to the supplier. This order is now flagged as sent to the supplier. And we continue until all of the orders have been validated and updated and sent to the relevant suppliers. So, on receipt of the materials against these orders, we create a goods received note. And for example, for the stainless steel, we'll have a delivery note from Worcester, and it's quite easy to find that particular order on the system. So the delivery note number is entered here, and the quantity actually received here. You'll notice that the quantity we're entering here is received from the supply delivery note, and indeed the order quantity are in a unit of measure that the supplier will recognize. At this point we submit the GRN, and if we go to our stock items, we can see that we have received a quantity of 102.7 sheets. And if we look at the activity on that, we'll see that it does indeed relate to that goods received note. You'll notice in particular that this quantity is now a stock quantity, so that the application has actually converted it from a supplier recognizable unit of measure to a stock unit of measure as it's processed the GRN. If we now GRN the remaining orders, in the same way as before, and so on, so that our stock items have been updated with the various quantities received. So with our materials on site and capacity on our machines, we clearly process the works orders that have been created. And if we take again the example of our 8-inch stainless steel frying pan base and confirm that that order has now been processed and completed, we have the opportunity to update the application with what actually happened, which of course may be a little different to what was planned. So it could be, for example, that we actually produced 1100 frying pan bases, but actually scrapped 10. We can first of all update the component quantities to reflect that, and we may well know that in fact in production we actually consumed 16 sheets of stainless steel. Once we've completed the actual values on the works order, we simply complete it. And that now shows as completed in our works order listing.